But I want to start off by saying thank you for allowing me to speak to you all today. Hope that this lesson benefits you and your walk with Christ as it does to mine. I want to talk to you all about fear, and more specifically, fearing God. Deuteronomy 10:12. Now Israel, what does the Lord your God require from you but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in his ways and love him, and to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. So we are required to fear the Lord. Well, what does fear in this context mean? Well, it means to be in awe of God, or be in reverence towards him, or feel a sense of that. So, should we fear God? I believe the answer to this question is yes, and I'd like to explain why. First, I believe it makes us better Christians. Acts 9, verse 31. So the church throughout all Judea and Galilee and Samaria enjoyed peace, being built up and going on in the fear of the Lord, and in the comfort of the Holy Spirit, it continued to increase. So, because they feared the Lord, the church increased. And so, I believe that because they increased, they must have become better Christians, and so they feared the Lord, so they became better Christians. In return to that. So, Psalms 111:10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do his commandments, and praise endures forever. So if fearing the Lord is the start of wisdom, doesn't that mean that to gain wisdom we must fear the Lord? And that will lead us to becoming better Christians. Ecclesiastes 12:13. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. If we fear the Lord, I believe we will obey him and be obedient to his word. We can see an example of this in Genesis 22:12. He said, do not stretch out your hand against the lad, and do nothing to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. So this is Abraham and Isaac, and Abraham is about to give up his son as an offering to God, and God stops him, saying, now I know that you fear me. So because Abraham feared God, he was willing to be obedient to him, and was obedient to him. Secondly, God is God, and what I mean by that is He is many things, but specifically I want to go over his holiness and power. In Psalms 96:10, say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Indeed, the world is firmly established. It will not be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. So we will all be judged equally, showing his purity. And in 1 John 1:5, this is the message we have heard from him and announced to you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. There's no darkness in God. He is completely pure, and I believe that is a reason we should be in awe of him. In Genesis 1:1, it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, demonstrating just some of his power. And in 1 Samuel 4:7, the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God has come into the camp, and they said, woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. So the Ark of the Covenant has entered into the camp of the Philistines, and they're just now starting to realize, and they're getting pretty scared, because, they're terrified. They're terrified of God and His power. It's a representation. The Philistines knew how powerful God is, and it's just truly an amazing thing, and we should be in awe of it. Thirdly, through fear we are accepted by God. In Acts 10:35, but in every nation the man who fears Him and does what is right is welcome to Him. Every man who fears God is accepted as His child. Example of someone who was accepted by God through fear was Abraham. He was accepted through God through fear because he feared God. Another example is Job, though. In Job 1:8, the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil. So Job feared the Lord, and God was pretty much bragging about him to the devil. He even called him His servant. He was accepted by God. Now, straying away a little bit from that topic, our original topic, I want to talk about fearing the Creator and not the created. But what I mean by that, I mean God being the Creator and the created being man and their creations. I believe it's pretty easy to fear someone else or something else other than God, and that can lead to somewhat of an idolization of that thing. Matthew 10:28. Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear Him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. So we should fear God and not man. Fear someone who can kill your body and spirit in hell, being God, and not just someone who can kill your body. Exodus 1:15-21. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah, and the other was named Puah. And he said, when you are helping the Hebrew women to give birth and see them upon the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and did not do as the king of Egypt had commanded them, but let the boys live. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done these things, and let the boys live? The midwife said to the Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous, and give birth before the midwives can get to them. So God was good to the midwives, and the people multiplied and became very mighty. Because the midwives feared God, He established households for them. So the midwives feared God, and through that fear, they weren't going to listen to what the Pharaoh wanted them to do. They were going to do what God wanted to do. We have to keep that mindset. We can't fear someone else and do what they want to do. We need to fear God and do what He wants us to do. Colossians 3:2. Set your mind on the things above, not on the things that are on earth. We need to keep our mindset on the things that are above, or God, and we can't let our thoughts stray from that. We can't be focused on the things of this world. An example of that can be money. A lot of times we get really focused on money, and we'll just want to make money, and we'll put that above God, and we just can't do that. Our priorities need to be on God. But that's all I have this evening. I hope that this lesson has been beneficial to all of you and your walks with Christ as it has been in mine. And If anyone wishes to be baptized or needs the prayers of the church, we ask that you would come and sit on the front row as we stand and sing.
But